morning. My name is Reverend Kylie Renner, and on behalf of the entire One Spiritual Center community, I want to welcome you here today. Thank you for bringing your love and your light and your warmth into this space this morning. So I don't know about you, but I feel really discombobulated this morning. Like, what time is it? What day is it? What year is it? Where am I? And my talk in a bit is about how to use this kind of time of shift as a spiritual tool. But what I'm feeling this morning also is I've had probably 6 or 7 people just this morning reach out and say, I need a little bit of prayer today. There are a lot of people just looking to be bathed in love this morning, whether they're in this room or within the sound of my voice or wherever they are. And I'm just holding this space that this community today is not only fulfills that purpose of anyone who needs prayer in this space feels like they're supported in that, but that this community's prayers, that our prayers do something to affect this greater thing that is happening, that is just this call for us to show up as more love in every direction. And so I'm just in that space this morning of really feeling like it makes a difference that we pray together, that we stand with each other, and that we are just bathing anyone who needs prayer this morning in the love of this community. So if you're comfortable joining me in that, please close your eyes, and as we open ourselves into this day that has never been before, this time in which the changes around us and within us are calling for a deeper answer. And so I just recognize that the deep calls upon deep and is answered, and that anything that we feel the call to hand over to something deeper is responded to with a depth of spirit, a depth of love and wisdom and grace that is bigger than anything we could have ever imagined. And so we create a space today in community, not only for ourselves, but for this whole thing called life. As we collectively maneuver the changing times that we are living in, and all that it is required to change inside of us to step into whatever it is that we're next called into. And so I just know how blessed we are to be present here today together in community, to not only allow ourselves to be bathed in love and prayer, but to bathe each other in love and in prayer and in grace. And so I just honor all that it took to get here today. The stories of our lives, all of the things that have come together and fallen apart. I honor all of it. And I welcome this day. I welcome the healing energy of this day to transform whatever it is that needs transformation. And I just lean into that. And I let it be. And so it is.
Come gather round, people, wherever you roam. Admit that the waters around you have grown, and accept that you'll be drenched to the bone. If your time to you is worth saving, then you better start swimming or you'll sink like a stone. For the times, they are a-changing. Come writers and critics who prophesize with your pen, and keep your eyes wide, the chance won't come again. And don't speak too soon, for the wheel's still in spin. There's no telling who that it's naming, for the loser now will later be winning. And at times they are a-changing. mothers and fathers throughout the land. But don't criticize what you don't understand. Your sons and your daughters are beyond your command. Your old road is rapidly aging. Please get out of the new one if you can't lend a hand, for the times they are a-changing. The line is drawn, the curse it is cast. The slow one will now, will later be fast, as the present now will later be past. The order is rapidly fading, and the first one now will later be last, for the times they are a-changing.
I discovered a new poet this week. Oh no. Oh yay, oh no, I'm not sure right now, but I have not stopped reading her work. So her name is Jean Lohman, and this is one that spoke to me. Suddenly sun, over my shoulder in the middle of gray November. What I hope to do comes back asking. Across the street, the fiery trees hold onto their leaves, red and gold. In the final months of this unfinished year, they offer blazing riddles. In the frozen fields of my life, there are no shortcuts to spring. There are no shortcuts to spring, but stories of great birds in migration, carrying small ones on their backs. Predators flying next to warblers they would in a different season eat. Stunned by the astonishing mix in this uneasy world that plunges in a single day from despair to hope and back again. I commend my life. I commend my life to Ruskin's difficult duty of delight and to that most beautiful form of courage. That most beautiful form of courage, to be happy. And so we just take that most beautiful form of courage in these changing times, and we allow the meditation to take us wherever it takes us today.
Our guest this morning, our special guest this morning, is Marilyn Hubbert, and she's right over here. And we also want to thank Rick Compton for sitting in for John this morning. Rick Compton on drums. And that was my best ukulele impersonation.
That was a Sid composition. Yeah.
Good morning. Yesterday, a child came out to wander. He caught a dragonfly inside a jar. Tearful when the sky was full of thunder, and tearful at the falling of a star. The seasons, they go round and round. The painted ponies go up and down, and we're captive on the carousel of time. We can't return, we can only look behind from where we came, and go round and round and round on the circle game. Then the boy passed 10 years and the seasons, skated over 10 clear frozen streams. Words like when you're older must appease him, and promises of someday make his dreams. And the seasons, they go round and round. The painted ponies go up and down. We're captive on this carousel of time. We can't return, we can only look behind from where we came, and go round and round and round in the circle game. 16 springs and 16 summers gone now. Cartwheels turn to car wheels through the town, and they tell him, take your time, it won't be long now, till you drag your feet to slow the circle down. And the circle, it goes round and round. The painted ponies go up and down. We're captive on a carousel of time. You can't return, you can only look behind from where you came, and go round and round and round with the circle game. The year goes by, and now the boy is 20. Those dreams have lost some grandeur coming true. There'll be new dreams, better dreams, and plenty, before the last revolving year is through. And the circle, it goes round and round. The painted ponies go up and down. We're captive on the carousel of time. You can't return, You can only look behind from where we came and go round and round and round in the circle game.
Marilyn, that was particularly beautiful. Thank you so much. So on days like this, when we're all feeling a little discombobulated, when the world is actually looking a little discombobulated, both like figuratively, but also literally, like what time is it? What a great opportunity to look at how entrenched we've become. Because it's very interesting how much we worship the clock. Because it has that much influence over how we live our lives, right? How much attention we put on what time it is and the passage of time. And what an interesting time to just step back and go, is this working? Is this what I want it to look like? Are there some patterns I've gotten entrenched in? And can I use this time of feeling a little bit like I don't know what's going on or what should be going on to actually move ourselves in the direction we know is happening? Because I'm clear that the times are changing. And so when I picked that song this week as my title and Sid decided to sing it, we were laughing about how like that there was like, it's still so relevant. Like the words are still so relevant to the times we're living in now, and how powerful it is to remember that we're like constantly in that process of change. That's what we've signed up for. That there's something deep and powerful that we're participating in, and that we've actually been asked in these particular times to take it in a deeper way, to take what we've already been through, what we already know, individually and collectively, and use it to move us even deeper into the change we know is possible. But one of the things I notice is that when the time changes, that we tend to get more entrenched in ritual, or we try and get it back as soon as possible, that sense of normalcy. And I'm actually, this particular change in time, asking for us to like not do that. To not get back into the routine so quickly, to actually use the fact that we are discombobulated to pull us instead into a vision of our lives in which we are dedicated to the things we really want to. And so we can use this as like a spiritual reset time to make sure that we're focused on the right things, to make sure that we are not letting things that are so arbitrary like clocks rule so much of our lives. And can we really allow for this to happen? So what I know about spiritual resets is that there's exciting parts of spiritual resets. It feels like we get to finally be ourselves, like we get to explore what we really want. But there's also really scary parts of spiritual resets. There's scary parts of where it feels like we don't know how to be, and we don't know how to move, and we don't know how to move forward, and we don't know what anything is going to look like. And it's honestly fairly terrifying to be willing to set that kind of reset that says I'm willing to look clearly at the things in my life that are working and the things that aren't, and do something different with it. And so this is why I believe that this poet that I told you had become my favorite this week, or quickly became one of my favorites, is so relevant, because these are the questions that she deals with in her work. And so I came across this poem thinking about the changing times and the questions we ask in those times of darkness. And so this is another Jean Lohman poem entitled Questions Before Dark. Days end, and before sleep, when the sky dies down, consider your altered state. Has this day changed you? Has this day changed you? Are the corners sharper or rounded off? Did you live with death? Make decisions that quieted? Find one clear word that fit? At the sun's midpoint, did you notice a pitch of absence? Bewilderment that invites the possible? What did you learn? What did you learn from the things you dropped and picked up and dropped again? Did you let a straw parallel to the river? Did let the flow carry you downstream? Did you set a straw parallel to the river and let the flow carry you downstream? So I love that lesson here, right? Like, what did you learn? Did you let the day change you? Or did you get so stuck in a routine that you couldn't ask those deep questions? You were so beholden to the clock or to what came next or what you thought needed to happen that you did not, in fact, let what you were experiencing change you. And so what I recognize about spiritual resets that really allow ourselves to be changed is like there's something about being willing to learn from the things we dropped and picked up and dropped again. Like there's something about being willing to participate in what's right in front of us deeply that calls us to set a reset that's not about like everything we've done before, but actually showing up in a new way. Like showing up with a fullness of spirit that isn't just about repeating what we've created before, but actually transforming this experience that we're having together. But that's the other part of spiritual reset, is that it's really confusing because we don't know exactly what's going on. We know something's moving, obviously. Like if you look at what's going on around the world right now, something's happening. There is something moving, but it's really confusing and we don't know exactly how it's all going to shape up. We don't know that on an internal level. We don't know that on an external level. And so when we give in to the fact that it's confusing, and we can realize that our job isn't necessarily to know what's going to happen, but to show up fully, to show up in our fullness, whatever that is. So Elizabeth Gilbert has this great story about when she was 10 years old, and I think about this when I think about like this call to like show up in our fullness and allow ourselves to be transformed. So she was 10 years old, and she decided that she really, really wanted to win Best in Show at our local county fair. But the problem is that she wasn't good at anything. And so this is what she said: "My motivation was pure. I wanted the ribbon. The Best in Show ribbon was a giant purple explosion of glorious splendidness with gold embossed lettering that explained in no uncertain terms that the bearer was unequivocally the best, and I was determined to make it mine. How to go about winning the thing was problematic, however, because there was nothing at which I was the best. So I would need to do something more cunning than merely excel. So I decided to overwhelm the judges with hundreds of submissions, thereby maximizing my odds of victory through the sheer avalanche of my presence. Entering hundreds of submissions into a county fair takes some doing, a lot of cooking, sewing, crocheting, canning, growing, building, and drawing. So here's what I created: muffins, cookies, fudge, cornbread, a cake shaped like a castle, a cockeyed hand-sewn teddy bear, a pencil holder decorated with yarn, pickles, a diorama with the growth cycle of beans, a handmade board game about cats, a paper-mache piggy bank, a needlepoint portrait of a rather large snail, a watercolor representation of my family, a coat hook, a coat of arms, necklaces made from spoons, necklaces made from shells, necklaces made from other necklaces. I could go on. When all was said and done, it took 3 separate trips in our Chevy Malibu station wagon to deliver all of my booty to the exhibition hall. I had not so much entered the county fair as assaulted it. The night before the judging, I did not sleep. When the fairground opened the next morning, I was the first person waiting at the gates. Did I win Best in Show? Of course not. The winner, not that I'm still upset about it, was a guy who had only entered one thing in the entire fair. Baklava. Baklava? Do you know how boring baklava is? Do you know what color it is? Brown. Let me remind you, I baked a cake that looked like a castle decorated with turrets made up from upside down ice cream cones and balustrades crafted from pillow mints. How a brown dessert that doesn't even have frosting stole my prize was beyond me. I still can't eat baklava to this day. I was devastated, sobbing, inconsolable, and then a miracle. One of the more attentive judges must have noticed that approximately 2/3 of the submissions in the fair had come from one person, and that this person was a 10-year-old child, because 1 hour later, I was presented with a special prize, a generic white ribbon upon which that kind soul had written in magic marker, "Most in show." Not best, mind you, most. Was I offended by my consolation prize? No, I was consoled, proud even, damn it, I was the most in show. And here's the thing, I still am. I'm still not the best at anything, not the smartest, most talented, prettiest, strongest, not the best traveler, best novelist, not the best at foreign language, and not the best yogi, not the best at anything, but my heavens, I do show up. My strategy is the same as ever. I may not win, but you will know that I was here. I still bring 3 carloads of effort to every endeavor. The uniquely talented pastry chef with his fancy dessert still usually wins the big prestige prize, but you know what? People have to acknowledge me anyhow, because I won't go away. And so I advocate for a most in show approach to life because it works. It comes down to this: refuse to be unseen. And so I always think about this story when I think about how confusing it is about how to show up in changing times. Like, if I don't know how to do that, like I don't know how to show up when the world is changing and it's confusing and I don't know where to put my attention, I don't know where to go next. And I think about being most in show. By being willing to be most present, to being unwilling to be that place that is unseen. And when we allow that kind of energy that says, I'm going to bring my full self, even though I'm confused, even though I do not know where to go next with this, that there is something that allows for spirit then to be activated in a new way in our lives. That we actually participate in a transformation on a different level. And so when I was thinking about how this relates to the shift in time, I realized that there are ways in which the rituals or the things that we've given our attention to in our lives, the things that the patterns and the things in our daily life that actually constrain us from being most in show, they stop us from showing up. And so it's really powerful to use this as this time that in which there is a shift that has happened, to allow for us to look at those things that are stopping that kind of unique expression that allows for us to show up in our fullness, and be willing to ask those questions like, does this serve me showing up in my fullness, or is this getting in the way? And can I allow myself to rededicate myself to something bigger? So my notes are all in disarray right this second, so if I can find it, there's this great Nietzsche quote somewhere. It's here. It's even circled, if I can find it. It's a time of discombobulation. There it is. So Nietzsche said, one who has a why to live for can bear almost any how. One who has a why to live for can bear with almost any how. And this is why this is an important thing to look at right now, is that there has to be a why inside of us that's bigger than any of the hows that we're called into. Because some of the hows look messy. Some of the hows look uncomfortable. Some of the hows look really confusing. but the why is what is important. And for me, that why is that love shows up in a bigger way than ever before. And that why is right there. And so the how is the how. It doesn't matter so much. And I don't need to be distracted by the how if I am willing to set that reset and focus on the reason behind it all instead of all of the things that have to happen in order for that to occur. And so the reason is transformation. The reason is that we are being called to care for one another as if we remember that we are one. The reason is that love is ready to show up, and peace is ready to show up, and something bigger is ready. And that's the why. And so then the how becomes none of our business. The how becomes show up as most in show, and let Spirit do the rest. And how comforting it is to know that we don't need to know. We don't need to know how. We don't need to know what's next. We don't need to know what it's going to look like. We don't have to control it. All we have to do is be willing to show up as most and show, and let Spirit do the rest. So here we go again with Jean Lohman. Once again, every page is now not the page I was looking at. So here we go. This is what another of hers that spoke to me this way. It's entitled, Praise What Comes. Surprising as unplanned kisses, all you haven't deserved of days and solitude, your body's immoderate good health that lets you work in many kinds of weather. Praise talk with just about anyone. At quiet intervals, books that are your food and your hunger, nightfall and walks before sleep. Praising these for practice, perhaps, you will come to, at last to praise grief and the wrongs you never intended. At the end, there may be no answers and only a few very simple questions. Did I love? Finish my task in the world. Learn at least one of the many names of God. At the intersections, the boundaries where one life began and another ended, the jumping off places between fear and possibility, at the ragged edges of pain, did I catch the smallest glimpse of the holy? Did I allow that to happen? And so, if you're feeling discombobulated and confused by what's going on inside of you or by the world, then yay. What a powerful thing to start to ask some deeper questions about where we're going and what's real and what's important and what matters in some level that we maybe haven't looked at before, individually and collectively. How sweet to get to just show up to this transformation that is happening, knowing that we will be guided. And so as we allow for this new time to take shape, how powerful an invitation it is to be most in show. Whatever that looks like. Whatever that looks like, however that shows up. And I just know that we will be guided and that we were made for these times. And so I keep going back to this piece, which you will have heard from me over and over the last 2 years since Dr. Clarissa Pinkola Estes wrote it. And I just want to read a bit of it because I think it speaks to the fact that this change that is happening is something we've been preparing for and that we're ready for it. So this is it. My friends, do not lose heart. We were made for these times. I have heard from so many recently who are deeply and properly bewildered. They are concerned about the state of affairs in our world now. Ours is a time of almost daily astonishment at an often righteous rage over the latest degradations of what matters to most civilized and visionary people. You are right in your assessments. The luster and hubris some have aspired to while endorsing acts so heinous against children, elders, everyday people, the poor, the unguarded, the helpless is breathtaking. Yet I urge you, ask you, gentle you, to please not spend your spirit dry by bewailing these difficult times. Especially do not lose hope, most particularly because the fact is that we were made for these times. Yes, for years we have been learning, practicing, been in training for, and just waiting to meet at this exact plane of engagement. I grew up in the Great Lakes and recognize a seaworthy vessel when I see one. Regarding awakening souls, there has never been more able vessels in the water than there are right now across the world. And they are fully provisioned and able to signal one another as never before in the history of humankind. Look out over the prow. There are millions of boats of righteous souls on the waters with you, even though our veneers may shiver from everywhere, wave in this stormy royal. I assure you that the long timbers composing your prow and rudder come from a great forest. That the long-grained lumber is known to withstand storms, to hold together, to hold its own, and to advance regardless. In any dark time, there is a tendency to veer toward fainting over how much is wrong and unmended in the world. Do not focus on that. There is a tendency, too, to fall into being, being weakened by dwelling on what is outside your reach, by what cannot yet be. Do not focus there. That is spending the wind without raising the sails. We are needed, and that is all we can know. And though we meet resistance, we more so will meet great souls who will hail us, love us, guide us, and we will know them when they appear. Did you say you were a believer? Did you say you pledged to listen to a voice greater? Did you ask for grace? Don't you remember that to be in grace means to submit to the voice of the greater? Ours is not the task of fixing the entire world at once, but of stretching out and to mend the part of the world that is within our reach. Any small, calm thing that one soul can do to help another soul, to assist some portion of this poor, suffering world will help immensely. It is not given to us to know which acts or by whom will cause the critical mass to tip toward an enduring good. What is needed for dramatic change is an accumulation of acts, adding more, continuing. We know that it does not take everyone on earth to bring justice and peace, but only a small, determined group who will not give up during the first, second, and 100th gale. One of the most calming and powerful actions you can do to intervene in a stormy world is to stand up and show your soul. Most in show. Soul on decks shines like gold in dark times. The light of the soul throws sparks, can send flares, build signal fires, cause proper matters to catch fire. To display the lantern of the soul in shadowy times like these, to be fierce and to show mercy towards others, both are acts of immense bravery and great necessity. Struggling souls can catch light from other souls who are fully lit and willing to show it. If you would help to calm the tumult, this is one of the strongest things you can do. There will always be times when you feel discouraged. I too have felt despair many times in my life, but I do not keep a chair for it. I will not entertain it, and it is not allowed to eat from my plate. The reason is this. In my uttermost bones, I know something as you do. It is that there can be no despair when you remember why you came to earth, why you serve, and who sent you here. The good words we say and the good words we do not the good deeds we do are not ours. They are the words and deeds of the one who brought us here. In that spirit, I hope that you will write this on your wall. When a great ship is in harbor and moored, it is safe. There can be no doubt. But that is not what great ships are built for. So we take that energy of recognizing that we were built for these times, that we were made for these times, that everything that came before these times in our lives have actually shaped what we know and how we know we can show up now. And we can allow for a deeper transformation to happen because we trust in this. And we know what sent us here. And we know we were made for it. And so we can let go into that. And I'm going to ask the band to come up as we prepare for prayer. And as we do so, I'm just inviting you to think about maybe some way in which you're being called to show up as most in show. To let your soul be seen. To let the fact that you may feel confused or discombobulated or any sorts of things right now, and to actually let that guide a deeper walk of transformation, guide a willingness to let something deeper show up through you. And so I invite you to sing with me as we open to prayer.
Our prayer of love lifts us high. It heals us, sustains us, and sets us free. Our prayer of love lifts us high. It heals us, sustains us, and sets us free. Our prayer of love lifts us high. It heals us, sustains us, sets us free. Our prayer of love lifts us high. It heals us, sustains us, sets us free.
So our prayer of love is a prayer of recognizing the change that is happening inside of us and all around us. It is a prayer of remembering that we are connected to it, and that we may use the power within us to transform in such a way that allows for our focus to be on what is real and important at all times. And as we let everything else fall away, it becomes clear how we make our souls visible, how we become most in show as we show up for this transformation that is seeking to happen, and play the role that only we can play in both small and large, courageous ways. And so I just recognize that all of the confusion, all of the questions, all of the things that are causing us to feel doubt or fear are in fact messengers of the transformation that is seeking to find its way through us. And we embrace them in their invitation to step more fully into the changing times, to do our part in the way only we can. And so I let go of any idea that we need to know what it looks like first, or that we have to have it figured out. And I instead move into a willingness to allow the focus to be on why and let everything else be in its proper place. And that why is love, and that why is oneness, and that why is remembering who sent us here. And that we've been preparing for these times. And that we're ready. And so we just lean more deeply into the love that is. And we let that prayer carry us past anything that feels like it is standing in the way, past even our own idea of ourselves, that we let the prayer carry us. And our prayer of love lifts us. And we can see more clearly. And we know that we are not alone. And so we lean into that. and we let it be. And so it is.
Our prayer of love lifts us high. It heals us, sustains us, and sets us free. Our prayer of love lifts us high. It heals us, sustains us, and sets us free. Once again, Marilyn Hubbert. She's young, she's talented. She's right behind you. Right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
I am so grateful to be here. It's a hard day today. What would you do if I sang out of tune? Would you stand up and walk out on me? Lend me your ears and I'll sing you a song. I will try not to sing out of key. Oh, I get by with a little help from my friends. Oh, I get high with little help from my friends. Yes, I'm gonna try with little help from my friends. Now what do I do when my love is away? Does it worry you to be all alone? And what do I do at the end of the day? Are you sad because you're on your own? Oh, I get by with a little help from my friends. I get high with a little help from my friends. Yes, I'm gonna try with a little help from my friends. Now could it be anybody? I need somebody to love. Could it be anybody? Oh, I just need someone to love. Now would you believe in a love at first sight? I'm sure that it happens all the time. What do you see when you turn out the light? I can't tell you, but I know it's mine. Oh, get by with a little help from my friends. Yes, I get high with a little help from my friends. Gonna try with a little help from my friends. Do you need anybody? Oh, I need someone to love. Now could it be anybody? I just want someone to love. Oh, I get by with a little help from my friends. Ooh, I'm gonna try with a little help from my friends. Yes, I get high with a little help from my friends. Oh, I'm gonna try with a little help from my friends. With little help from my friends. Very good, friends, indeed.
Thank you. That's Marilyn Hubbert.
Yay. Thank you, Marilyn. So now's the time where we move into the sharing of our tithes and offerings. So I invite you to take whatever it is you brought to share with this community, whatever you brought to support this community continuing to do what it does so beautifully, to pour love all over one another and this thing called life. And I just invite you to give whatever you are offering today a silent blessing. Whatever's on your heart today, I invite you to offer it over. Offer it over to the transformation that is happening, the changing times. And how sweet it is just to know that we are loved and supported in whatever it is that shows up. That we are loved and supported in the questions, that we are loved and supported in that which feels like it is resolved and that which feels like it is unresolved. And we just lean into that space that we create for the transformation to happen, and we know that it is good, then we let it be. And please join me as we sing as our ushers come through the aisles.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Take this light around the world, I'm gonna let it shine. Take this light around the world, I'm gonna let it shine. Take this light around the world, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Don't let anyone blow it out, I'm gonna let it shine. Don't let anyone blow it out, I'm gonna let it shine. Don't let anyone blow it out, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
So we just take all of the love that has been shared, all of the prayers that have been put into this space today, and we bless them all. We bless this community as we move forward together, knowing that Spirit is guiding. And we just let go into it. And then we know it is good, and we let it be. And so it is. So I just have a few things upcoming that I wanted to make sure you know about. One is that next Saturday we will be holding a memorial service for Lynn. So I told you last week that I was going to put up a photo, so those of you who didn't know her name but knew her face because she was here every week would be like, oh, yes, that's Lynn. Her best friend calls her Linny. So that threw me for a minute. She's like, Linny died. I'm like, what? Who? So Lynn was a beloved member of our community, and she passed away actually a few months ago, and we will be having a memorial service for her next Saturday at 11 o'clock at the Peace and Justice Center, which is right around the corner from here. So we'd love to have you. If you were touched in any way by her laughter or her presence, she always gave me a kiss on the cheek every week, which I will remember. And I love getting caught up in her laughter. That's one of the things she was known for. So that's next Saturday. And then the third Saturday in November. I'm like, it's November. Wait a second. What month are we in? The third Saturday in November, we'll be making a meal for Community of Hope. It's our monthly adventure and figuring out how to serve 100 people a beautiful, nutritious meal. And so we cook together, and then the meal is served on the third, whatever it is. Sometimes it's the third Saturday, or Sunday, sometimes it's not. So that's coming up the third Saturday, and then we will be at Roadrunner Food Bank the fourth Saturday, and you're all welcome to join us for any of those. And it's nice to see some people I haven't seen in a while. Welcome home, welcome home, welcome home. And I believe I'm going to stop talking. So we're going to sing.
One love, one heart. Let's get together and feel alright. One love, one heart. Let's give thanks to the Lord, and we can feel alright. People, get ready, there's a train a-coming. Don't need no baggage, you just get on board. All you need is faith, hear that diesel humming. Don't need no tickets, you just thank the Lord. One love, one heart. Let's get together and feel alright. One love, one heart. Let's give thanks to the Lord, and we can feel alright. People, get ready for the train to Jordan. It's picking up passengers from coast to coast. Faith is the key. Open the doors and boredom. There's room for all that love the most. One love, one heart. Let's get together and feel alright. One love, one heart. Let's give thanks to the Lord, and we can feel alright. Let's give thanks to the Lord, and we can feel alright.
And we have one last blessing to sing to one another.